Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Turbo Delphi Demos. I'm Nick Hodges, the Delphi Product Manager, and I'm going to be doing a demonstration of LiveTemplates in the IDE, in the code editor. The last few Delphi demos we've been working on TurboPad. We kind of wrapped that up. And today I thought I'd just show some of the more high-end, powerful features of the code editor. Now if you've been following the Delphi Turbo demos previously, you might have seen me use a few of these. And the first one we're going to cover today is code templates. Now, code templates, or LiveTemplates, are scriptable code snippets that are active in the code editor and allow you to quickly and easily build code constructs in Delphi. So I'm going to create a new VCL Forms application here, and I am going to drop a button on the form. And then I'm going to demonstrate some of the techniques. Well, and then I'm going to drop a memo because I might want to use some of the things inside the memo there. Double click, create an event handler, and I'm going to show you some of the things you can do to make typing your code a lot faster and easier with LiveTemplates. Now, I'm going to begin by typing the word for. I just typed FOR. Now, if you recall from your earlier demos and tutorials, the for statement allows you to iterate over a specific number of ordinal types. Usually it's an integer, but you can iterate over any type of ordinal type. So in this case, I'm going to type for, and then I just simply hit the Tab key. And now you'll notice that the IDE pops up and shows you a nice, interesting little for loop here. And it has three boxed areas, and these are called points. And later on, we'll see how the points work inside a LiveTemplate. But for right now, these are called code insertion points, where you can actually type code. And you'll notice that if you look closely, you'll see that the cursor is blinking there. And so, for instance, I can type in my counter variable, and I can hit the Tab key, and I might want the counter variable to go from, say, 0 to memo1.lines.count -1. And then I hit the Tab key again, and now you'll notice that a couple of things happen. One is the cursor was then placed below the line, so now I can start typing what I want this for loop to do. And the other thing is, you notice that I declared a variable called my counter variable in the for loop. And you notice the IDE actually went through and used refactorings, which again we'll talk about in the future Delphi demos, Turbo Delphi demos, to declare that variable for you. And now I can come along here and type some begin code. Now, the IDE, part of LiveTemplates, also includes a feature called block completion. It's kind of part and parcel to LiveTemplates. If I type begin, and you've seen this, I'm sure, if you've been looking at my demos, and I type enter, you'll notice that the IDE simply filled in the end and placed the cursor at my tab location inside the new begin end block. And that is LiveTemplates. There's a number of LiveTemplates inside of your IDE. If you have an if statement, you can type if space. If you can say, memo1.lines.count is greater than 0, then begin, and you can do the block. You can also type IFB, and that'll go ahead and create the same thing for you, but it'll add in the begin end block automatically. And notice after I hit enter, when I'm done with the LiveTemplate, it'll place the cursor right inside of the begin end block. Now there's a third little item here in that's part of LiveTemplates, and that is called a surround template. For instance, if I were to select all of this code and decide that I wanted to surround it with a comment, I could maybe go go to the surround, and I could select comment, and you'll notice that now the code is commented with curly braces in between, around it. I could also select the code, right click for instance, and I could select the surround of region, and I could create a foldable region here for the code, you'll notice. And it also, let me do that again just because I kind of was a little quick with it. If I highlight this code and select surround region, you'll also notice that it highlights my region, and I can say I created this with LiveTemplates. So the LiveTemplate actually allows me to fill in the name of the region so that when I collapse it, that's what's shown as the comment for the particular region. Those are surround templates. Okay, so there's a number of templates that you can use. If we open up we go to View Templates and open up the Templates window here, you can see there's a number of templates for declaring arrays, begins, case statements. I'll show you one interesting thing about the trusty case statement. And let me dock this back over here. I'll just dock it down here. Let's say, for instance, earlier as we saw, we declare a type, a type called t_my_enum, and I just declare that as a enumerated variable, enumerated type. And I'll just declare, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I have a enumerated type. Now let's just say, for the sake of argument, in addition to that, I wanted to create a case statement that would take a look, or a case. I hit Tab, and the case statement pops up, and I might have an expression, say, of my enum. And now I can come up and use the, real quickly, I'll use the refactoring. I'll use the declare variable for my enum as a t_my_enum. Declare that variable up here, and now, actually, I'm sorry, I should have declared the variable first, and then I can give the example case my enum, and then I hit Tab, and you'll notice that what the IDE did was it went in and filled in all of the enumerated values for that particular enumerated variable, and so you don't have to do it. And then, of course, I can use block completion to go ahead and create blocks here for these. I could add code in there if I wanted to. Now, just a minute ago we looked at the live templates here. You can see there's a whole bunch of them for declaring classes, enumerated types. I could use them for different types of for loops, declare functions, declare procedures, almost any type of if statement that you want, try, finally, blocks, and all that type of stuff. But let's take a look at the one that we did use, which was the simple for loop. Now, I'm going to edit this, and you'll notice in the editor, the template is actually itself simply an XML file. Now the XML file is an XML 1.0 UTF encoding 8. It's simple, and it's a type code template. It gives a namespace and whatnot, and it has some chunks in here that are of interest to us. One is the template. First chunk there is the script. Now the script is the part where we can actually call code inside of the IDE. And here we've got a function called validate for template, which actually will make sure that it's okay to use the template wherever you put it. The next section, of course, is the points. You remember there were 3 separate points for inserting items into the for statement. The index itself, the low value, and the high loop value. And you notice each point has some value, some items, and namely the text and the hint. Now, if you recall, remember, we came down here and we typed for tab, and you'll notice there's the description. Whoop, I made it go away. Hang on, I can't click on it, can I? For tab. There's the description, and there's the hint. Okay, the hint, tab or shift tab to navigate, but there's the hint, the loop counter, the low loop bound, and the high loop bound. And you'll notice that those words, came from here. Low loop bound, or loop low bound, loop high bound. Those came from the hints for each individual insertion point. Each individual insertion point has a name, okay, index, val, and counter. Now below this you can give a description, and that's what will show up inside of the templates box. Inside the template window here, you'll notice the description shows up here. And then finally the author, you can put your author in there. If you're the author, you can put your name in there. Some more scripts that occur when we leave the template, and that is declare variable. If you recall, remember it declared for me. It called the declare variable refactoring. Now, declare variable is a function that has been written and entered into the script engine for live templates, and that's actually how to do that. You can do that if you like, but how to do that is actually an advanced topic for what we want to do today. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save our application. And then finally, the final section that's actually probably maybe the most important is actually the actual code that gets inserted. And this is a code tag that it highlights it as a Delphi language. It highlights it as a method body, i.e. it's usually inserted into a method body. And then the delimiter is the pipe character. And then it creates a C data block to actually insert the text in. And now you'll notice it says 4, and then it uses the delimiter to delimit out one of the names of the points. So up here it says 4, the index point gets the val point to the counterpoint, -1 do, and then it puts a star character here inside the delimiter, which indicates a character turn, and then the end tells the system that the code has come to an end. And thus, again, we'll do it one more time just for fun, you end up with 4 like so, and you can tab through each individual one, and you end up with a nice little chunk of code that was fairly easy to enter in because you didn't have to type everything. So that's what they look like. They're XML files. Now, of course, it wouldn't be any fun if you couldn't create your own live templates. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And the fun part here, you'll notice, is that new live templates use the live templating engine to create themselves. So I'm going to create a template that I got from Dr. Bob off of the Delphi wiki. And in fact, I'll show you where the Delphi wiki is because it's a nice site, and I wanted to stick that in here. Delphi wiki is found at delphi.wikia.com. And you'll notice I scrolled down here to the Delphi Live Templates page. I clicked on that, and here's a full page here. Talks about live templates, gives a number of different examples, and I'm pulling one of them off of here. It's written by Dr. Bob, and if you don't know who Dr. Bob is, I suggest you go to www.drbob42.com and check out his site. Dr. Bob is a longtime Delphi community member, and he's got a great site with lots and lots of resources, training materials, all kinds of interesting stuff on his site. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create a new template that will make it very easy to write out a message dialog box, one of those little messages that pop up with the OK cancel buttons and a little icon or whatever. We'll just create a nice little easy template to do that that's based upon the one that Dr. Bob did. And of course I can do that by going to the templates window and selecting new. Now you'll notice when I do that, it brings up an XML file, and it's a template for a template, if you will. And of course all templates have to have a name. And the name is actually the text that will be used to type into the editor to invoke the template. So in this case, we'll just type, how about MD for message dialog. So you want to do a message dialog, you just type MD. And then we can have it be a manual or automatic, we can have it be a manual or an automatic invocation. If it's manual, you actually have to hit the tab key. In this case, MD is something we'd be very unlikely to type a space bar after. So I'm going to go ahead and set this one to be auto. And now I'm going to put a descriptor in here, a live template to create a message dialog. The author, I'll go ahead and give credit to Dr. Bob, and I might as well and Nick Hodges. And next, of course, is the critical section here called C data. Now, C data is the part where I mentioned earlier that I put the code. But of course, before that, I want to put some points. I want to have some insertion points so that when I type the message dialog, it will move me from parameter to parameter, so it's easy to fill in the values for the parameter. Now, I'm going to be hopelessly pedantic and recursive here, and notice that I'm going to be doing a lot of points into my file. And of course, points themselves can be hard to type and busy to type, so maybe I want to create, I don't know, a live template to create points. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this one out to the code templates directory. You have to save them to the code templates directory, which is part of the subset of the BDS4, BDS subdirectory, in order for the IDE to recognize them. And this one I'm just going to call it the MD template because it's a message dialog box, and we can put it there. And then I'm going to create a new one. This new one is going to be called point, and I'm going to go ahead and call it a live template to create a live template point. The author will be Nick Hodges, but I'm going to give credit credit to my to Team B or Deborah Pate, who actually thought of this excellent idea. And now I'm going to go ahead and say it's for the language XML, since these are XML files. And I'm going to go ahead and type in what I want the point to look like. And it's actually going to be a little busy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the thing, type it in, and come back. Okay, so now I'm back and I've filled out this code template quite a little bit here. First thing to notice is the point template needs a point because it has a name. And so we need to have a point inside the point template. And hopefully our head won't explode when we do this recursively in our minds. But a point template has a point called point name. Next thing to notice is for the CData block here, this gets a little tricky. The CData section will honor returns and whatnot inside of in whitespace inside of the CData block. So there, and it will also add. I think I mentioned earlier these were returns. These are not returns. These are actually tab delimiters here. So once you add these sections in here, using the delimiter and a star inside the two delimiters, that will be a tab item. So now you notice that the language I selected was XML. I set a delimiter here for to be the pipe character, and then I put in a point name equals point name, and then the text, and then the point name here as well. And actually, probably want to put pipes around this thing so that we can have actually more than one point name inside the thing. I can save this, of course, inside the directory. And now, if I type point, hit tab, you'll notice that I can go from point name to point name, giving it my point. And you'll notice the interesting thing is, as I type inside one point name tab, point name point, it also does the other one. So now we could actually go and add a hint here. Maybe we'd want to do that a little later. But for right now, we've actually got a point live template that creates points. So now we're going to, that was our function call. Now we're going to go back to the calling function of here. So now we need some points for our message dialog one. So it's easy now. I just type point, and the first point I want is called message type, right? Like so. And then by default, actually, we don't want some text there. Whoops. I'm sorry. I have to go here and select message type. And down in this box here, we'll go ahead and put MBOK as the default, because that's the default text we want to put in when the message box type will just be an MBOK. I'm sorry, not MBOK. We want empty information, which is the type box. Next up, put another point in. Here we'll call it message buttons, and then now we can type in the text that we want it to be here, which this will be the MBOK, which is the type of the button. And then there'll be a third point here. No, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, we want an actual third point called actual message itself, and the text here can be whatever we want. Just, you know, it could be something like replace me, so that the user doesn't actually leave the default text there. And then again, the tricky part is managing to deal with, let's hide this up so we can see a little more code, managing to type in the code language and all that, the code element. Now the language, of course, is going to be Delphi. We're going to need a delimiter to outline our type, or points, excuse me. We'll put double quotes here with the pipe character in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead again and stop the video and type in the code, and we'll go over it when I'm done. Okay, I'm back and I've typed in the code here. Let's go over it real quickly. First, we set the language type to Delphi. The delimiter we'll set to the pipe character, and then of course the key part here is inside the CData tag. CData tag brings up a message dialog, types in message dialog, and then it opens up the paren. It opens up the parens, and inside the string. Oh, I left a closing string up there, or a close quote up there. It puts the point, the code insertion point of message. Then it puts the code insertion point of message type, followed by a comma. Then inside the brackets, you can put the set of types of buttons you want to show up, and it will just default to 0. The end tag here tells you to put the cursor at the end of the code template when the code template has completed. Now we can save this. We've already saved it as MD. And now I can go back to my code and just type MD space, and you'll notice now that we've got message dialog. I can type in a new type for the field here if I want to, and I could add more buttons if I want to, but of course now I've got a perfectly legitimate message dialog declaration that took very little work. Basically at this point all I had to do was type in MD space and then the message, and that worked. So that pretty much does it for a basic look at LiveTemplates, how you can construct your own LiveTemplates. Just a couple other things on LiveTemplates. One is that when you create a new LiveTemplate, if you want to, for instance, include some already existing code in your LiveTemplate, you can select the code in the editor, and when you hit New Template, you'll notice that the code that you selected it comes up as part of the C data block inside the new code template. I'm going to close this one. Another fun thing to do, and I do this a lot, is you can use this, just as a side note, kind of a funny thing to do, is you can use code templates to correct your bad spelling errors. For instance, I very frequently type STIRNG for string, and then but I want to replace that. I'm going to go ahead and make it auto, so it automatically happens. Fixes Nix. The description is common typo of STIRNG. Like so. The author, I'll put my name in here, of course, Nick Hodges. Whoops. And of course the language is Delphi, and I don't need a delimiter here because I'm not doing anything other than just replacing STIRNG with string. Now I can save this out, and I can save it as my STIR template. And now if I'm going through my code up here, I want to say go up here to declare a variable. I go S:***. You'll notice that it automatically corrects it to string, and so that does a little autocorrect feature. Just a little fun that you can have with your nice little LiveTemplates. Okay, so that should wrap it up here for a good quick overview of LiveTemplates. Hopefully you'll explore them a little further and use them to create your own templates so you can speed up your own coding. One way you might want to use them, and I probably should have used them here in this demo, is you can, like for instance, store up demo code and use them to invoke big chunks of code that you might want to use during a demo, or big chunks of code that you might want to put at the beginning of every unit, like specific types of comments that you want to have or anything like that. The sky's the limit on how you can use these things, and I encourage you to explore them, use them, look around on the web to find templates that exist. That wiki page I showed you earlier is a good example, and certainly share your templates with other people on that wiki page. So that'll wrap it up for today's edition of Turbo Delphi Demos. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.